Hey guys, real quick, I want to just say I'm really sorry that I have not been active in the past 2 weeks. Singles were really slow the first week, and then this week I got busy with work and I had a vacation and I just have not had time. I'm back, I'm going to continue to try to keep uploading, and I'm really sorry about that. That was just a really temporary thing, but I should be good now. Yeah, sorry guys. Now let's get to the video. Hey, what is going on, guys? This is SMEB Reviews, and welcome to my concert review where I'm going to review the concert that I saw at the Sprint Center in Kansas City. James Arthur, Fitz and the Tantrums, and then headlining was OneRepublic. Let's get to it. So this was the Honda Civic Tour with OneRepublic opening, and this was a very well star-studded lineup, really. I mean, you have James Arthur, who's really actually a pretty big artist, and he was even the smallest opening artist. Fitz and the Tantrums, which I'd actually consider smaller than James Arthur, but I wasn't going to complain. They were going to get more songs. And then OneRepublic, which is also really huge. So really, all three were pretty big names, and I was pretty excited for it. I'm not a huge fan of OneRepublic. I honestly, there's some songs I really like and then some that are really forgettable for me. And so it's kind of back and forth. I do really enjoy some of their albums. So I was excited to see them. Obviously, I was going to see Fitz and the Tantrums. They are one of my favorite bands, honestly. I mean, for sure in my top 5. I haven't really thought through. Probably, they might even be my number 2 right after Billy Joel. And then James Arthur, which I've never really listened to except for Say You Won't Let Go. But I was kind of excited because he's a decently big artist, and all three of these just really made this a pretty exciting event because all three are pretty big. So let's talk about each one individually and see how they all did live. So first up was James Arthur, and he honestly really took me by surprise. I was expecting a slow acoustic set, which is what you hear on like Say You Won't Let Go, and I'm not really a fan of that singer-songwriter, guitar, and just mellow love song vocals. I'm not really a fan of that in general. Some songs can get in there, they're pretty earwormy or something, and I'll like them, but really I found the lyrics in Say You Won't Let Go pretty cheesy, so I wasn't really expecting much from him at all. But he could really rock, and it was really enjoyable to hear him because he had a lot of energy, and he made me want to go home and listen to some of these songs, and that's what you should do when you're performing. I mean, if you're an opening act, you've got just a couple songs, 6 or 7 songs to nail your name in, and he did it. I mean, he made me think about him again, so props to him for that, for sure. He started off, and he really grabbed my attention with his song I Am off of his newest record, and I did not know that song before, but hearing that song live really gave it some energy. And even when I went back and listened to the studio album, it's nothing compared to what he did live. It's much heavier live. There's a lot more guitars, there's not as much electronic elements in it as there is on the album. And the album version still has energy, it's still good, but it's just nothing compared to him live for that song. That was definitely his best song. That very first song that he played was definitely the best song that he played. And props to him. And even a cover of Rockabye by Clean Bandit was really good. And I don't even care for that song too much, but that cover really was good. And I really wish I could hear that in a studio setting because he rocked it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The rest of the set kind of fell flat for me. The last 2 songs were definitely the acoustic singer-songwriter thing that I was talking about that I don't really care for. And the 3rd or 4th song, I honestly just don't remember. Doesn't mean they were bad. I may have just got off in my head or something. Those 2, though, just did not stand out. But overall, honestly, he made me remember his name, and I think he did what he should have done. I mean, he actually sort of won me over. He's made me want to listen to some of his music. Not that I'm thinking his studio albums are quite as good as... because like I said, I Am is way better live than on the studio version, but it was still good. I mean, it's not the best thing I've seen, but hey, he had 6 songs and he did pretty good on it, so good for him on that. I also quickly want to mention that his backing band, was very entertaining. I don't know, I did not research who those people were, but they were actually very good, and I'm sure they're just road crew, not anyone that he normally performs with, but they were actually very entertaining, and I found them one of the better backing bands of the night, but I'll get into that later. So next up was Fitz and the Tantrums. And I'm sure you guys know I love Fitz and the Tantrums. They're one of my favorite bands. And they did really good. Again, I've seen them live. I got to see them once in a smaller ballroom setting, standing room only. And it was so good. There was so much energy. And going into this show, I was so excited, but I was kind of worried because I didn't know how that kind of energy would translate into a stadium like it did. But really, honestly, they have that energy anywhere. And I was talking to some people about it. Honestly, I feel like they are a live band. If their studio albums are not catching you, they are a live band. If you see them live, those studio albums will sound way better because they just add so much depth to it because they have so much energy and they have so much fun. Not that their studio albums lose that energy, but they just move around and have so much fun and have such good synergy together, and just being every member of that band you can tell likes each other, and so it sounds really good and you can just feel that good energy coming off of them, and that's why I really feel like they are a live band. I love their studio albums, but it's nothing compared to their live. And I know I said that about James Arthur, but James Arthur, I don't really like his studio albums versus I liked him live. I love their studio albums, so if I love their studio albums that much, that means they are pretty good live. Honestly, I'd say they're one of the best acts I've ever seen live. Definitely in my top 3, both times I've seen them. So getting into their set list, they played 7 songs from their newest album, self-titled, and then they played 5 songs from their second album, 1 from their first, and then the new single that they recently released, Fool, which I reviewed previously, if you want to go check that out. So I have a small problem with this set list, but also I completely understand it. And I'm not just trying to defend one of my favorite bands. Honestly, I hate that they don't play more from their first album. It's not mainstream music by any means. It's very throwback, and it has a lot of 80s and 60s inspiration in it. And I hate that they don't play more, but I also get it, because if you're, like I just said with James Arthur, if you're trying to impress an audience, you have got to make your name stick, and some of that stuff just doesn't translate as well into a live setting, honestly. I love all those songs, and I have seen them, and when I saw them that time, they played 4 songs off their first album, and really, besides Money Grabber, the one song that they did play in this show, none of the ones from the first album significantly stood out in my mind. And I think it's just because they're a little more laid back and they just don't have that kind of punch. And as I said, they have a lot of energy, and that's what their newer albums have. They have a lot of energy in them. Not that their first album is bad. Honestly, eventually I'd like to review all their albums, and that's my favorite album. Their first album is my favorite by all means, but I understand why they're trying to move away from it. It doesn't necessarily translate as well. Plus, you want to get everyone up dancing. You want to make them have fun, especially if you're opening. If you're the headliner, you've got time for some slow stuff and let people cool down to get them, and then get them back into it. But when you're opening, you can't do that. You got to have fun with it because you're one of the smaller bands. They didn't necessarily come to see you, so you need to impress them. And Fitz did that. They really did that. Even though they played a lot of stuff from their newer album, it just has energy, and so I can't really dock them for that. As much as I personally hate it, I understand completely why they did it. I'm not going to give them any bad score, bad review of them because of it. I understand. It stinks, but oh well. I love their first album. That's the only reason I say anything like that. But every single one of the songs that they played really had a punch to it and really left you wanting more. Fitz, as a frontman, is terrific. He runs around the stage. He does all these dorky dances, which some might see. I mean, they are dorky. I mean, you might see them as just dumb dance moves, but really that's the heart of the band. All of them, well, not all of them, a lot of them are at least over 30, and quite a few over 40, and so they're all just dorky dads, and they're making music that sounds like it came from the 60s, 80s, and even now, when they're making current pop music, they're still just dorky dads, and they embrace that. And so Fitz as a frontman, doing all these dorky dance moves, running back and forth, it's just funny. He's really enjoyable to watch, and I love seeing him live. He he stands out, especially amongst the band. Now, Jeremy and Joseph and John all sadly get pushed to the back when they play live, just because they're less focused. It's the drummer, the keyboardist, and the bassist. They're just less focused. That's how a lot of bands do it. I hate that how drummers always get stuck in the back. It's unfortunate sometimes, but they do get stuck in the back. But all three of them still did a great job. I was watching each individual one, and they were really fun. Joseph just likes to have fun, and you can see him smiling. John is a great drummer, and Jeremy's one of the least interesting members of Fitz and the Tantrums. I still love each individual member, but he is a little more boring of the group. And then the last two is James and Noel. James plays the saxophone, but he also is a multi-instrumentalist. When he plays live, he will have a guitar, keyboards, and then saxophone, of course. And he did a great job. He got a solo, luckily, which I was really happy about, that he got to have a little saxophone solo. And he just had fun. You could tell that they all loved being up there. And then Noel, who has so much energy, and her and Fitz really work together well. During the show, they would keep turning to each other, smiling at each other, just dancing together. And it's really fun and enjoyable to see that kind of energy and how all six of them really just work together, and it's not just the front man and then his band. It's everyone has a role in this, and that's what I love about Fitz. That's what I love about their show. They're just so much fun, each one of them. I don't think I could express really how good they are. Look up a video of all of them live, because they are so much fun, and I love seeing them. They are one of my favorite bands, and they just have so much energy. The set was great. They got to play 14 songs, which blew me away. I thought it was only going to be, 7, 8, 9, something around there. But they got to play 14 songs, and that was great. I really don't have any complaints with anything. I mean, I wish that they had played maybe one more song from their first album, but oh well. It was so much fun, and it's so great to see a band that you've known about for so long playing, and then everyone around you pulling out their phones, looking them up, and going to Spotify, going to Wikipedia, anything, just trying to learn about this band because they like them. And that just makes me so happy, seeing all the people that were influenced just by that one set and just the people that were around me. That was great. It was so much fun. Now on to OneRepublic. So OneRepublic, they had a 20-song set list if you count their guitar solo that they had, which was, it was a good 2 or 3 minutes, so if you count that, then that's 21. But it was good. I actually liked it. I do have some complaints, and I have some pros. Let me get to the pros first, and then we'll talk about what I didn't really enjoy as much about their set. So one pro is just that they would play songs that they've never played before. Some of those are covers, being like Ed Sheeran or Adele and Beyonce. And then some of those were, and those songs were wrote with that artist and Ryan Tedder, the lead singer of OneRepublic. They collaborated and wrote the songs that Ryan Tedder then played in the show. Sorry to bring that one in late. And then he also played songs that were from some new stuff that they're working on. Some of them are live debuts, some of them haven't come out yet. But I really like that. I like that they're trying to bring in new songs, stuff that they haven't played before, and that makes me happy. Because I like when bands do that. It's interesting. It mixes it up. I don't necessarily want to know every single song, because sometimes you gain new appreciation for a song just because you saw it live. Some of my favorite songs are because I saw them live and I was like, wow, that was good. And then I listened to the studio album and I just fell even more in love with them. So I'm fine with them playing songs that they haven't released yet or don't play often. I like that. I like hearing different stuff. But I don't know if you noticed, but I did say that he played. And this is where we're going to start getting into some cons. Yes, obviously, the whole band of OneRepublic was there. But really, nobody focuses on the rest of the band. And that's what's so unfortunate. Ryan Tedder did everything. The whole rest of the band stood in one place, did nothing interesting. They sat there and maybe, rocked back and forth a little, but they didn't do much. And that's why I keep saying he played and not OneRepublic, because Ryan Tedder was really the only one that did anything. Now, Ryan Tedder's a great frontman. He ran around, he was having fun. I actually found him very interesting. But the fact that the rest of the band did not much more than maybe, rock back and forth a little bit kind of hurt them for me, and that personally causes a problem. And they just didn't feel like they had quite as good synergy as, honestly, either of the opening acts did. And that's why that's the biggest con, but that is a big con for me. Just because it really distracted me, because there was only one man I could look at, not the whole stage. The whole stage was not the show. It was Ryan Tedder, and that's it. And so that was my problem with my biggest problem with OneRepublic. I don't have really any other problems. There were just some down moments that, because he's the only one that really even does anything, you just kind of get a little bored. And some of the songs were really interesting, but there just wasn't as much energy behind it. And so when you're just looking at one person instead of the whole stage, it kind of loses some of its shine. And so that really hurt OneRepublic. I still think they were good live, but just not the best band that I've ever seen live by any means. And honestly, I feel like both opening acts kind of outshined them. Now, during the encore, the band brought out both opening acts to sing Rumor Has It by Adele. And I love that. I love when they try to get the opening acts involved. I think that that's really cool. I like when the headliners use the opening acts. So seeing that, and that, I realize that just sounds like I wanted to see Fitz again, which I did so bad. But it's really cool seeing them come back out, no matter who the opening act was. Even if I didn't like the opening act, I probably would have liked that, just because I like to see the opening act still have some involvement throughout the show. So I was happy with it. I think that was pretty cool. It was a good show. It was a good set. I don't really have any problems with any of the set. I think the set was pretty good. It was just what I was saying about how the show is really Ryan Tedder, not OneRepublic, and that's unfortunate to me. The very last thing I want to say, which actually applies to all three bands, is they talk a lot, and that's something I enjoy personally. I mean, not a lot that it distracts you or they took, 30 more minutes because of what they were saying, but I enjoy when there's some crowd interaction or some storytelling, because that's not something you get on the album. Some bands will just play exactly what's on the album and it's not very interesting, but hearing them talk and tell stories and even try to relate with the town that they were in, which OneRepublic did excellently. They told so many stories about Kansas City, and I think that's great. I think that that's something a lot of bands should try to strive to more. But just hearing bands talk, even if it's just, all right, everyone, get on your feet, that kind of thing. I like hearing some talking in it. I don't just like, all right, this song's done, and next song. I like to hear some stuff. I like to hear transitions, and all three actually did that very well. So props to them. So to wrap up this probably very long video of me rambling about all three bands, it was good. I actually really enjoyed it. One of the better shows I've been to, and I've been to quite a few shows. I really enjoyed this. It was fun. I had fun. I was lucky enough to get to go, and I can't complain much. It was very, very cool to see them. And so, yeah, I'm not going to give this like a number rating. I don't think that, because I think that'd be way too hard. There's too many factors that go into a live show. I've given my thoughts. There they are. I really actually do recommend seeing them if you're able to, if they're in a city anywhere close to you. Try to see them, because it's a very fun show. And like I said, all three are pretty big names. So it was fun. That's about all I have to say about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave any comments that you have. If you went to the show, let me know. And just give me any suggestions for the channel. I do see your suggestions. There's been some that have been put on the back burner, but I'm really trying to focus again. I just had 2 really off weeks. And so now, instead of, because I could have filmed a single Sunday and just posted it a day late, but I felt like instead of doing that, I'd just focus on moving forward, getting the new videos out, maybe trying to film some new stuff. So I'm just trying to keep on going. So please leave any suggestions. I promise I see them and we'll get to them at some point. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.